Welcome back to the rules engagement. We just talked a little bit about how you can open with Reapers to contain and slow down a Zerg opponent, then transition to mech with a stronger economy from the opening, and of course, everyone knows Terran with a strong economy and mech units is a very formidable force, especially with the new Hellbat usage. So now we're going to jump into game number 4, where Last uses a little bit of a different opening against Soulkey. He does a little bit more macro focus opening, not getting to Reapers. So we talk about how you can optimize the Terran economy to really crank it into full gear. Then talk about how using not the Hellbats, but normal Hellions and Widow Mines. So much earlier, you don't need the Armory. This type of composition to help contain creep early on in the game. And then, of course, later on, mid-game, TVZ, mech army compositions, because there's so many more different mech units available. How should you combine them to make your ideal mech army? So let's jump into that game. And this game lasted a little bit of a different opening. So he opened just very, gasless expansion. Very, very fast expansion. Then double gas. Then factory. Get that Widow Mine to help protect you against anything that could... I mean, he doesn't really need it, but why not, right? If you're only going to die if you lose early, make sure to get that Widow Mine. And then, of course, a very fast third CC. So with the fast third CC and constant SCV production, as a Terran player, if you do this type of build, by the 10-minute mark, you should always have more economy than your opponent. Even if they take a very fast third themselves, Terran economy with the fast third CC should be the best of any race in the game by the 10-minute mark, because that's the point when you'll start to... You'll be very close to being caught up in SCVs. In fact, you should be caught up with the 3 CCs. At least to the point where the SCVs are useful and you're really getting good mining value out of 3 separate bases. So this type of composition is ideal for a type of opening. Now, the next thing is, as you're doing this, you want to make sure that, okay, I don't have the Reapers early. I got the Hellions. I don't want to have to tech to the starport that fast because I want to get more economically focused. So how can I help stop the creep spread, right? Now, let's say I just have Hellions here. What happens when my Hellions are here? These Hellions, they can say, we're going to kill your creep tumors, and they're going to die, right? And that's good. That's nice. You can kill creep tumors. But what happens when your opponent brings their queens out, and they push the queens out to here, and then your Hellbats, your Hellions have to go back, and now they can put the creep tumors down, right? They can spread all their creep out. That's what you see all the time at top-level tournaments right now in Wings of Liberty. The Zerg player uses the queens to push those Hellions away. Then they spread the creep behind the queens. That's how Soulkey got his creep so far out already on the Tomb Valley. He's already about 1/4 of the way across the map this early in the game, using the queens to push back those Hellions. But what you can do now, with the same tech as the Hellions, you get this little Widow Mine guy. And now if he tries to push those queens out, the Widow Mine pops him in the face, gives him a good strong jab. And then the queen will be weak enough the Hellions can go in and finish the job. Of course, eventually, once they get an Overseer out, then they can start killing Widow Mines. Up until that point, though, unless they want to get a Spore, and that's extra cost, Widow Mine's a great way to make sure the queens can't push those Hellions away, which means the Hellions can stay there and deny that creep spread. So if you're not going to go for early Medevac and Hellbats, you just want to focus on economy, you only have a reactor factory, that's it, no armory, no starport. Use the Hellion Widow Mine combination to try to keep that creep spread back on your opponent's side of the map. Let's jump back into the game and go forward a little bit more. And we're going to talk about the mech army compositions as the game goes on. So both players just going to macro up for a while. You see a lot of stuff in production, constant SCVs being produced, etc. Of course, doing some Hellbat drops. Soulkey defends the Hellbat drops pretty effectively. Uses some drones, but compared to what you normally see, he's doing a pretty good job of running the drones very fast, taking out the Hellbats and Roaches as best as possible. And then, of course, he's going to try to slow his opponent's third base, but as long as you got siege tanks and a depot wall, it's going to be very expensive to break. You have good army spread. And as long as you spread the siege tanks well, you intersperse them with missile turrets, and you have Hellbats available to defend, you should be safe against mass roach drops as well if your siege tanks are positioned well and you have Hellbats with them. That's the one thing I'm a little concerned about here. You've got a Terran player who's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 orbitals, and he's got that because his economy opened up so aggressively he didn't realize that in Heart of Swarm you can explode your economy so much faster as Terran now because it's less risky. That he's got insane minerals, but his food is at 150, his minerals at 2,000, This is the one thing that if you're a Wings of Liberty Terran player, like Lass is an amazing Wings of Liberty Terran player, he's not quite used to how strong your economy is going to be now with these type of openings in Heart of the Swarm. As you notice here, look at these factories. 3 tech labs, only 1 reactor. I would like to see at least 3 reactors very early in the game, and then he could have even more factories because he'd have like 2 less tanks here, but then he'd have 2 more factories and he'd be producing the same number of tanks right now, just with a lot more Hellbats. And the idea of this is that he could easily be max at this point, in fact. Because you have so many more resources going mech with the ability to open up more economically focused, don't have to research siege mode, etc. Plenty of reactor factories is a great idea. Hellions are much more useful in the mid game and the late game than they were in Wings of Liberty because of the Hellbat mode. And of course, you can always add in Widow Mines too, which are extra great as well. So I mean, he's still going to win this game because you know, it's the way he opened was so economically focused. His opponent just has some roaches. I mean, it's not going to stop. If you look at the army size, that disparity over here in this area is just too big of a disparity for the Zerg player to compete with. So he's still going to win, but just because you win a game doesn't mean you should learn from it. Build a lot of reactor factories when you're going to mid-game as mech, because you should have tons of orbitals. You should be playing greedy as hell because you're so safe with Widow Mines, free siege mode, you know, yeah, Hellbats, that you can play so much more greedy in the early game, and then that'll increase your mineral income. You might not be able to take a whole ton of bases because you still have to defend those angles and that amount of space, but you can get a ton of orbitals early, which means you need a ton of reactor factories to take advantage of those extra minerals. Hellbats are a great unit. Don't be afraid to crank them out like a madman. It wraps up game number 4 of Lass versus Soulkey. Hope you guys enjoyed that series. Lass did win fairly convincingly 3-1. We're going to take a short break and then be back with a question and answer period. And of course, let me remind you guys, we do have another match on Sunday. Sase versus Snoot. Monday, Baby Knight versus Nurchio. So tomorrow there's going to be nothing going on, but Sunday and Monday, tune in at 5 p.m. Eastern for some great European matches. But hang on, because in just a minute, we're going to do some Q&A.